Welcome to the Book Tea with V. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Book Tea with V. I hope you've had an amazing week and I'm sure you're so ready for the weekend, as am I. But let's start, as always, and let's talk some pop culture. So two things really stuck out for me this week, and one of them being the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders Netflix documentary. I haven't seen it. I don't have to. I've got TikTok. And I feel like TikTok shows you the snippets that you really need to see. And there are two things that I've learned. One, these women are incredible. They are so talented. The dance, it just takes my breath away every single time. Two, they clearly do not get paid enough for what they do. End of. Plus, my toxic trait is thinking that if I was in a 6-week boot camp, I could be at their level. I couldn't. There is absolutely no way. I would cause myself an injury. My career would start and end in the same day. And the second thing that I've seen has been the Olympic trials for the gymnastics teams. And I've seen the American teams who are just incredible. Simone Biles, I saw Jade Carey. Their routines were flawless. It was like watching someone float in the air. Just incredible. I love the Olympics. It's just, I can watch it all day long. I don't care who's competing. I don't care what sport it is. I can't wait. So before we get onto the book tea, I do want to talk about something I feel is really important to talk about. And this particular video has been doing the rounds. A lot of book talkers have spoken on this, and I'm so glad they have because it really does need to be made into a discussion. So over the last couple of days, there have been videos about Wade Wilson, who is a convicted murderer. He is a disgusting, vile human. And I just want to say that my heart goes out to the families, to the women that were murdered, and anyone that has been affected by this man, this case, or anything similar. Unfortunately, BookTok has been dragged into this because the video of him in trial, it got a lot of attention, and the comments were stuff like, I can fix him, he's so hot, whatever, just vile. And what I particularly want to speak about is this side of BookTok. But if you want to hear more information about what was going on with that Wade Wilson video, please go and check out Alistair Marie's video on TikTok. She articulates it all so well, and I couldn't have said anything better myself. So go and check that out. I want to talk about this side of TikTok, this side of BookTok. It just seems to be a really loud minority that are just dragging the rest of BookTok down. They did it when Ted Bundy, for some reason, was going viral for a number of different reasons, and the same sort of people summon BookTok. I can save him, blah, 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 blah. It happened with Biker Talk, and it also happened with the hockey guys not so long ago. I really hope that with their comments being shown, with all of this coming to light, that they really learn their lesson. It's unacceptable. That is where I stand on this. And it just makes me really thankful to the followers that I have, the people that I follow on BookTok, because you are the most genuine, respectful people who just love talking about books. And I couldn't be more thankful for you guys. I really couldn't. But let's get back to what BookTok should be about. So we have had actually some bombshells dropped this week. Emily Henry's Happy Place is going to be made into a Netflix series. JLo's company has picked it up. I'm reeling. There have been a lot of comments on the JLo part of it, but I remember the days of Maid in Manhattan, Monster-in-Law, and I loved her. So I hope that we get that version come to play with what's going to happen with that. And then we've got Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver is going to be made into a movie. And the director, funnily enough, Chris McKay, did the Batman Lego movie. I don't know. I just have a feeling that this is going to be amazing. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. So what am I currently reading? I am currently reading Breaking Hailey and Saving Hailey by I.A. Dice. And the first book, I was hooked. I absolutely loved it. I went in blind. Check your trigger warnings, is dark romance. But what I will say is it sort of had the same setup as Haunting and Hunting Adeline, where the first book, Haunting Adeline, it was dark, but the second book punched you in the face with how dark it was. Similar setup, so check your trigger warnings there. I'm also reading Done and Dusted by Lyla Sage, and This one is hitting home, small town romance. She is a horse rider. She's recently had an accident, and it's just put her back so many steps with her horse riding career. I also had a bit of a accident happen a couple of years ago, and I definitely haven't got my confidence back yet. I'm riding again, but I'm definitely not where I was. So this book is hitting home. Have you ever had a book that just feels like it's talking to you, or it's talking about your experiences, so you're just feeling it so much more? That's what I'm getting with this one. So this week's guest, I've actually been following for a while. I absolutely adore her. She's extremely popular on BookTok. And not only just is she just so genuine, but her book recommendations are always on point. And she always does the Stuff Your Kindle days. She lets you know when it's happening, what might be available. I am, of course, talking about Miranda, who you probably know as Probably Off Reading.
Yay.
Miranda from Probably Off Reading.
Woo.
Welcome to the Book Tea with V.
Yay, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's just been, I just remember seeing you know, I think months ago now. And it's interesting because I actually saw your video of greeting your husband when he came back from
Oh,
deployment.
no. Yes.
No, and honestly, like, you know how there's all these things on TikTok and it's random. You might have a thing that you like, whether it's like someone cooking, or my thing is watching people come back from deployment and just be reunited with their family and their wives. So that was my first, like, I didn't know you had a book talk. I was like, oh my God. And I cried because I cry at every single one. It's my thing. I just think it's the most beautiful being like reunited. It's just, it's like that book moment, actually. I think that gets me.
And his deployment had actually been extended because of COVID. So it went from being like a 9-month one to an 11-month deployment. And so that moment was just like, it'll be forever ingrained in my head. Like, just having him back in my arms was so nice. There was a moment when he was like deployed. They ended up getting like sheltered for bombs and stuff. But it was kind of funny because I had seen it on the news 2 hours before they got sheltered. And I was like, why don't they have you guys in the shelter yet? But yeah, it was nice to have him come back home. And that moment was like extra special. Yeah.
It was. And like the music you put it to, honestly, I cry at anything anyway. But like, I was just like,
yeah. When the music, do you remember a couple months ago, they took down a lot of the songs?
Yes.
So that was one of the songs they took down. So I had to replace it with like a new current audio. But yeah, it was sad that they took rid of the original one.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of them are coming back now, but it did sort of, I remember going through my own videos like, well, this is going to have no context.
Yes. I was like, oh, here I am just lip syncing to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that was strange times. But then I realized you were massively into books. So like after that video, I think another one popped up and I'm like, wait. So then I went on, saw that you were, you know, like a book talker at that point, which was so cool. When did you discover your love of reading? Have you always been an avid reader?
So I started reading when I was a kid, like even prior to probably being a teenager. Like as soon as I could read, I remember I was a reader. Like started reading, I was reading like Magic Treehouse and Nancy Drew and all those types of like, you know, younger kid books and stuff. But then I think I probably stopped between like 18 to 20, I would say, or maybe even longer than that, 18 to 21. And then I re-picked it back up when I was around like 21. So I had a couple years where I stopped, but I was listening to like podcasts and things like that during that time. And then I was like, oh, I need to get back into reading.
And I feel like we all have the break. Like that, I don't know what point it is in our life, but we always have a break. Did you have a book that got you back into reading when you were like around that 21?
You know, so I do remember I had stumbled across something on BookTok, but BookTok wasn't really on my For You page yet at that time. And I do not remember what book it was that got me back into reading. I'm pretty sure it was like a very, very random book. But I remember a couple of my first ones were like Den of Vipers. I had seen someone recommend that on BookTok, so I had read that. But yeah, I remember I got Kindle Unlimited and I was like, oh my gosh, the options are endless.
It's
and then slowly like BookTok started popping up on my For You page. So
it's just what I find from your, and I don't know if it's just because I see these videos more, but are you more of a fantasy romance
girl? Is that sort of like what you prefer, or is it sort of all genres, but that's sort of the one that you would, if you
Yeah.
had to pick?
Okay, picking would be impossible. I will say, reading romantasy, it's probably what I've read the most of.
Mhm.
But I think what would maybe surprise some people, because I don't think I've made videos necessarily about it recently, but I've been really into my like thriller girl era.
Ah,
I've been starting to
amazing.
read a lot more thrillers recently, but I always fall back to like romantasy. I feel like that's if I feel like I'm getting into a book slump or I'm bored with a different genre, I gravitate back towards romantasy. So,
It just sort of
yeah.
puts you back into a world that you can sort of escape in. But it's
Yes.
funny you say thriller. So I haven't really, I think the most thriller I've got into is like
Mhm.
a small town romance suspense. So
Yeah.
if you were going to recommend a thriller for the first time, like if I said
Mhm.
to you, okay, what would be the book that you'd recommend?
Oh, okay. Can I name three?
You can name, you're like, one,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Okay. Picking out of the three would be very hard. I would say my top three at the moment are two by Frida McFadden. One's called Never Lie, and I actually got my husband to read that one with me, so that was fun to do with him. And then another one by Frida McFadden was Ward D, and that one blew my mind. That one shocked me. I was turning those pages fast. And then the third one is Lucinda Berry, and I
Okay.
think it's called Keep Your Friends Close or something along those lines. And
Hmm.
that one was really good too. So those would be like my three all-time favorite thrillers at the moment.
What, I think it was, did you say Frida? Is it Frida?
Rita McFadden. Mm-hmm.
Her Never Lied. Someone said that to me the other day. They're like, if you
Yeah,
read nothing else, that's
so
the
good.
one.
Yes, yes. My husband's mind
Oh,
was blown. Like we both were so shocked, but I was so happy it turned out to be such a shocking thriller for him because it was his first time reading a book in a while. So I was like, ah, at least it turned out to be a good one.
do you find that he reads a little bit more now that you're so much back into it, or he's not much of a reader?
So he read that with me because we were on vacation together. And I was like, come on, we have to do a book together. And so he read it with me, and that was a lot of fun. But no, he's definitely more of a gamer. So it kind of
Yes.
works out for us because, like, we don't have kids or pets. So our days is over pretty quickly.
Hmm.
So while he games, I read. And then it works nicely because while he's gaming, I can tell him about what I'm reading. He could just sit there and game while I talk about what I'm reading. So,
And I get it because me and my partner, we do the same thing. He
yeah.
is a gamer. So it's
Yep.
like, one of us will be like, and it always changes. I'll be like, do you feel like playing a couple of games? And that's like code for I want to read. Or he'll be
Yeah.
like, are you gonna read now? And I'm like, you
Yeah.
can go play games. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. It's
it
like
works. It's the perfect pair. It's
Mhm.
like,
It's like gamer boy, reader girl. It's a good pair.
and I love those trends on TikTok where
Yeah,
it's
I
like
do
everyone
too.
shows that dynamic. I
Yes.
love it so much. But let's talk book talk because
Mhm.
you have grown such a massive following on book talk. I felt like for me, you sort of came out of nowhere, and I feel like your book talk isn't just about book reviews and,
Mhm.
funny videos, but like you also, like, I feel like give a service with especially the Stuff Your Kindle days. I had no
Mhm.
idea what that even was. And so had you seen like a gap missing that people weren't aware of? Because I honestly didn't know that that was even a thing. So I feel like, and I know how popular that series is for you.
Yeah, yeah. So when I first started Book Talk, I will say I thought I'd have like four people on there. Like I genuinely expected four people, and I was like, oh, those four poor followers, are going to be so annoyed with me. But with Stuff Your Kindle Day, I don't even know how long I've been doing it for now, but I think it was really me and another book talker at the same time. I think me and Kendall Reads, she's another book
Okay.
talker. And I think at the same time, her and I kind of figured out about Stuff Your Kindle Day, and we
Yeah.
really started like pushing out
Ramping
Stuff
it
Your
up.
Kindle Day material because when I found out about it, I was like, why do I even have Kindle Unlimited? And I still have Kindle Unlimited, but at the same time, I was like, you can get so many good, especially indie author books for
Hmm.
free. And I was like, ah, more people need to know about this.
Absolutely. And I
So,
feel like it's just it's so interesting, and a lot of work must go into it as well, because you're, going down, you're working out what
Mhm.
books are going to be on
Yeah.
that week, and like it takes
Mhm.
time. Like it's
Yeah.
like I say, like, credit to you, because it's expensive. Books
Mhm.
are, they're the loves of our life, but
Yeah.
they can be expensive. It can be an
Right, right,
expensive
right.
venture.
Mm-hmm. Well, not just that, but I think too, one thing I love about the Stuff Your Kindle Day is almost like, I want to say, taking a chance on new authors, and
Hmm.
then if you love that book, let's say you got for free, you can then go buy the rest of the series or the other books that they've
So
written.
true.
And so it's such a good way, I think, for a lot of authors to bring in new followers, because I will
Yeah.
get like hooked on one author's writing and be like binge all their books, like Freedom McFadden right now. So I hope that it's also a good thing for like indie authors too, to get, more people looking at their writing and their books and their work. But yeah, I've really enjoyed like being able to talk about it and share it with more people.
No, I can definitely understand that. I feel like one of the like best things I find from like my book talk myself is when I can give a voice to an indie author. And
Yeah.
if I've picked up a book and I've absolutely loved it, and I'm like,
Yes.
why is no one else talking about this? I don't understand.
Right.
Let's get it out. Like, it must be the same for you.
Yes, yes. Especially in the beginning of my reading, I want, like, truly when I got Kindle Unlimited, and I didn't really realize it at the time, I finally figured out after being on Book Talk that a lot of the books I was reading in the beginning of my journey were all indie authors. And it really hasn't been until probably recently that I've been picking up more traditionally published books,
Mhm.
but a lot of them started off as an indie author. So it's also like really cool to see an indie author get traditionally published as well. But yeah, I think I'll always have such a love for like indie authors. I don't know.
Yeah,
Their
same.
work is so good, and I wish more people would read them.
I think that definitely it's getting more popular to sort of
Yes, yeah.
look outside the box, or look
Mhm.
outside what, is in the traditional
Mhm.
bookshops and things like that. And I think
Right.
that's where Kindle Unlimited really does give that voice.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Mhm.
It's just like you say, it's finding it and
Yeah.
finding, those authors.
Because it's not like a book you can walk into Barnes and Noble and always pick up, or go into Target and grab, but you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Now you can order
Love
the
Amazon.
paperback on Amazon. So, yeah.
It is such a cool thing though. I mean, I'm getting like a book a week these days off Amazon, because it's too easy. It's just too
Yeah.
easy. But for
Mhm.
anyone who is starting a book talk, and because you've grown such a following, you even come across so genuine, and it's
Oh,
it's obvious that that's
I have such
it's
bad
real.
anxiety, so I hope that like
No, no, not
I
at
get
all.
so nervous sometimes, but
You're
thank
as
you.
lovely as I imagined you to be,
Thank
honestly.
you. You're so
If you
sweet.
could, if you could give anyone advice on starting a book
Mhm.
talk, or what you found, or any advice in general in regards to either starting or
Mhm.
growing, what would it be?
I would say for me, and I get this question a lot, like a lot of people will send me messages asking. I always say that like practice does make perfect. Like talking in front of a camera it doesn't always come naturally for everyone.
Yeah.
And like even when I started my book talk journey, like it was so hard to try to feel natural in front of a camera. But the biggest piece of advice I like to give that really helped me was to pretend like you're talking to a best friend about a book. Like stop thinking of it as a camera and a video, and start thinking of it like, okay, if I had a friend in front of me, what would I want to tell them about what I just read, or how would I want to explain this book review to them? And that really helped me to like feel more confident and comfortable in the camera. Because I do think like even myself, I watched Book Talk for so long before I started creating content. And not to come across as a stalker, V, but I'm pretty sure I wanted to try to find it. I think I even took a screenshot when you followed me back because I was so
Ah,
excited.
that's
Or
so
whenever you
sweet.
followed me, I'm pretty sure I took a screenshot of it. I wanted to go back through my screenshots because, like, during my book talk journey, when some of my favorite book talkers like followed me, I was taking screenshots of them like, oh my gosh, totally fangirling. I'll have to see if I can find it. But yeah, I think just being able to feel comfortable and natural in front of the camera,
Yeah.
because when I was just a viewer of Book Talk, I always followed so fast the book talkers who I felt like just were so personable and
Yes.
comfortable. But it took me like such a long time to get there. And even to this day, the amount of videos I delete because I'm like, oh, I come across so awkward or I look disconnected or, So I think it's like just trying to feel comfortable and like you're talking to a friend,
Yeah.
really helped me with my content, I think.
I love that. That's
Because
such good advice.
yeah, because like at the end of the day, when I started Book Talk, I really just wanted to have people to talk about books with.
Hmm.
And so instead of feeling like I was talking to the camera, like feeling like I was talking to an actual friend, like really helped me because that's what I wanted my community to be. So I was like, I have to treat them how I want to build it, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
did that make
true.
sense? I don't know.
No, it absolutely
Okay.
does. I think I would be I was exactly it's I think we all have very different but in a way similar. Like I wish
Mhm.
that and as soon as she does, there was a girl that I followed. Again, I
Mhm.
wasn't on BookTok, it wasn't coming up
Mhm.
on my For You page,
Yeah.
apart from one girl. And I've
Mhm.
never seen her since that period of my TikTok
Mhm.
life. And I swear, if she ever comes up, I will message her because
Yeah.
she was just engaging and she made me go,
Mhm.
you know what? Just do it. Like
Yeah.
just make one.
Mhm.
But I think it is that awkward bit of the camera. And
Mhm.
what I find so much is the comments. I love just being
Mhm.
able to. The
Yes.
reason why I'm doing that video is because I love that book. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it. That's what I
Yeah.
want to do.
Right. No, I definitely feel that like having the community. I will say I think one of my favorite things that came out of Book Talk for me was my book club and having a book club to like be able to really read a book with everyone and then talk about that book. I
Yeah.
will always say that that's probably one of my favorite things that have come out of Book Talk so far for me is just having a little bit of a smaller because I think we might have like 3,000 people in the book club
Hmm.
and maybe about 100 people that will participate usually with a given book. And
Yeah.
so you really get to interact and really discuss and dissect like a book. And that to me has been really fun.
And for anyone that's interested, is the book club something that they can still get involved in? Is there like a
Mhm.
website? What is it? What is it on?
Um, Girl, you need to get a book club. I
Do you
think
know
you
what? If
need
I
a
had
book
the
club.
time,
It does take up time, I will say, but it's like really fun.
I bet.
It's on a free virtual book club app called Fable,
Okay.
Fable. And then my club name is so long, I'm thinking of changing it, but the club name is Sorcery and Sweethearts Society.
Mm, I
It is
like
also
that.
linked in my bio if anyone wanted to go find it. But yeah, I love the book club. Like just getting to know people more and
Yeah.
talking with everyone and just it's been a good time. So, but yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I think like again, it's just creating a community
Mhm.
of just, people that just love books. That's
Who
at
love
the end of
reading,
the
who
day,
get it.
that's
Yeah.
that's just all it comes down to. Like, let me
Right.
read my book. Now I want
Yep.
to talk about it.
Yep.
So let's get
Definitely.
into the fun stuff.
Mhm.
And I remember you said that Den of Vipers was one of your,
Yeah.
first ones back.
First
So you
ones.
jumped in. You went straight off that cliff.
Yep. I actually tried to find it because you know how in Kindle Unlimited they will show you the books you read
Hmm.
like the previous year. So I actually tried to go back because I was curious about what was the first book I read. But the only thing I remember about it is it was a reverse harem and it was like a fantasy reverse harem, but I don't remember the name. And for whatever reason, I feel like my Kindle Unlimited didn't save it because you really have to get, I think with KU, like to that 100% very last page
Yes.
for them to mark it as read. And so I wonder if I didn't like go through, whatever. I know I finished the books, but I wonder if I didn't get to the very, very end,
Yeah.
like go through the author notes or something, if it didn't mark it for me. But yeah, I remember so I jumped right in with a reverse harem. And then that kind of started me off on my reverse harem journey. I think like the first couple books I read were all reverse harems. Like I did the Bonsa Tai series.
Great
I did
series.
that one. I did Den of Vipers. Den of Vipers, I think, was my first dark romance. And then I
Okay.
was obsessed with Katie Knight, with
Yeah.
her work and her books. And I was like, oh, dark romance is where it's at. And so I went down like a dark romance. And then I went back to fantasy. And then just recently I've been doing like thrillers and like suspense type book.
I've got a catalog there. You're just like, you know what? I'm just going to rotate and see what
Yeah.
happens, which is
I'm definitely a
harder.
mood reader.
Oh, definitely. I'm the
Yeah.
same. And I think when you like so many genres, and this is I feel like my next question is probably going to be quite cruel because it's how do you choose between all these genres, all
Yeah.
these books? But if you had
Mhm.
to choose top 5 all
Oh,
time
no.
right now, what would they be?
Okay, so top 5 books of all time, I would have to say like probably Fourth Wing would be in my top 5. I got like every freaking edition I think possible so far. Fourth Wing. But then the Pine Hollow series by K.M. Mornova was the first series that ever really made me like cry. And so that series definitely has to stay in my like top 5 series. Zodiac Academy was that was my first long series. Like a series that had, you know, how many books does it have now? 9.
Yeah,
And
9.
just I think when I started it, maybe like there were 6 or 7 books already out, so I just was able to binge it. And I fell in love with that one. So definitely Zodiac Academy. Starbringer was a sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi romantasy. And that one surprised me because I had read like, would you consider Ice Planet Barbarian sci-fi? I don't know if some people would. I think you would, right? It has aliens in it. It's got to be sci-fi.
We're calling it sci-fi today.
Yeah.
So.
But I think Starbringer was my first like galaxy, you know, traveling type, you know, in a spacecraft book. And that book just felt so unique to me and I absolutely loved it. So that's got to be in my top 5. And then Ward D by Freda McFadden. So I have thrillers. I got
You have. I didn't know if it was going to be a mixed bag, but it is. It's a little bit of everything.
It is. Yeah.
I agree with Zodiac Academy. I felt like people either love it or hate it too. Yes. I don't know if you found, some people are like, it's the worst written series. And I'm like, I can't explain the way it made me feel though. Like I just felt a part of their little group. It was so different to anything I'd ever read.
Yes. It was an emotional roller coaster.
It was. And I haven't read the last book yet. I will get onto it, you know, as soon as I can. And yes, there were characters that annoyed me. And did I feel like there were chapters that weren't needed? Yeah. I still loved the book.
Yes. I ate every single word up. I was like, is it the best written? Maybe not. Did I absolutely binge it and love it? Yes.
And it's
Zodiac Academy. I read Zodiac Academy before I had started creating content on TikTok. And I actually had put off reading Zodiac Academy. I had seen it in KU. And I remember when I looked it up on TikTok to go see, all the videos that were pulling up for it were just people really not loving it. There was one video, like quite a while later, that popped up on my For You page. And I'm pretty sure I still know the creator. I think it was Benny. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a male BookTok content creator. And he did like a reaction reading it. And I was like, you know what? I just got to give it a try. And so Zodiac Academy, that was my like taste as a reader. That if a book sounds good to you, read it. Like, even if other people don't love it, try it out if it sounds good to you. Because sometimes I think like, man, if I had listened to the other like negative reviews, I would have missed out on one of my favorite all-time series. And it's why I try to be careful on my page too. Like, I don't normally post things that I don't love, like books I don't enjoy, because I never want to be the reason someone misses out reading something they like absolutely will love and enjoy. So
I completely understand because I'm exactly the same. I did a yes, no, maybe video the other day and I was like, I don't want to say no because that might be someone's best yes. Like, now like, I just feel mean.
Maybes are so hard for me. Yeah.
But it's
I'm like, all these books are yeses, so.
Pretty much. And I think that exactly that's the reason why I'm not like, I hated this book. It was this, it was that, because I've been caught out being like watching someone else do that. Down the line, I try the book and I love it. And I'm like, and I just wasted 4 months not reading it.
Yep. Or then, you know, for me too, it's like the opposite will happen too, where there's like a super loved book and I'll pick it up And then I just find out it's not for me. And I'm like, ah, why me? Why am I the one who doesn't enjoy it, you know? But I think that's why it's just so important to try out the books, you know? Like,
Hmm.
even if you see your favorite book talk creator say they hated it, you might absolutely love it. So that was for me as a reader, like my first taste of, okay, if it sounds good to me, I'm going to give it a try. And if I hate it 25% in, I'll DNF it. So,
And this was the same thing with Fourth Wing. When it first came out, I was like, this sounds like a bit of me. It had mixed reviews. I
mhm,
loved it. I haven't
mhm,
really got into the second one yet, again, because the reviews scared me. I was a bit like,
mhm.
you know what? I'm gonna wait. And I'm also, Sarah J. Maas has scarred me in the sense of bringing out a book and then a year later brings out another one. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell happened. Who's this? Like
Right.
I can't do a series unless it's
Yeah.
together now. I just can't, especially
Mhm.
fantasy, because the world building is so important. So if you forget names and characters and places, it definitely affects the way that you read it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I actually just started kind of annotating more physical
Hmm.
books. That way when like the next book in the series comes out, I can just flip through my annotations. And I found that that really helps me like pick up the information I need for like reading the next book. Because same thing would happen to me. I would love a book, like let's just take Fourth Wing as an example.
Hmm.
But then book two comes out and I'm like, man, I know I loved book one, but I do not remember where we left off, or, you know, I don't remember who half these people are. Like, I need to go back and reread book one now. So sometimes when I finish a book, I remember the vibes, and that's about it. I'm like, the vibes were good.
That's literally all I have to go off. Like I
Yeah.
remember loving Fourth Wing #1, Crescent City. I think Sarah J. Maas.
Hmm.
I loved that book. At the end of that book, I
Yeah.
still remember how I felt. Like my
Yeah.
heart was racing. I was crying. But then as soon as the second book came out, I was like, I don't understand. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to just do the whole thing when it's all out,
Reread it all.
because
Hmm.
but that's a really good tip actually. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The annotation, I was like, man, I wish I started doing this a lot sooner.
Helpful, right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
I should
definitely.
get into it, but I'm definitely not there yet. Like I don't even really annotate. I've got all the
Mhm,
stuff for it, but
mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just being lazy. I just need to just sit
My
there and
annotation tab sat around for months unused until finally I was like, "Ah, I've got to do it." And then I just started.
I think this is my sign. I need to start doing it.
Yeah.
So with this year, we've had so many books come out. I know, again,
Mhm.
this is going to be another hard one, but do you have so far this year a favorite book that you've picked up this year?
Okay, so this will have to I'm
You,
gonna have to give you
you can
two
put it into
because I
two.
can't pick a baby. I cannot pick one. That's
This
cruel of
is
me.
not how
I
the
can't
game
pick
works,
one.
Miranda.
Two is already hard enough, okay? um Two books that felt unique to me, and I feel like as someone who consumes a lot of books, like finding books
Hmm.
that feel very unique to me, those are the ones I feel like stick out a little bit more. So Five Broken Blades came out, and that book really shocked me. You follow a couple different people, and it was I kind of feel like with fantasy nowadays, it's a lot of trials, you know, which I love. I love a good trial, but I think I'm gravitating more towards like a quest, like them
Yes.
all going
Okay.
out to do a fantasy quest.
Hmm.
So that was kind of Five Broken Blades, what, you know, they all were kind of coming together to go out and do a quest. And that to me, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, that was like fun. And then the other one has to be When the Moon Hatched. Now, that book took a while to get into. That one took 21 chapters, I think, which is quite a bit because it's
Wow.
a thick book.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of heavy world building.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people say like I haven't read Crescent City yet, but a lot of people say like Crescent City has a lot of heavy world building. So I don't know how to compare the two, but I've seen people compare the two. So When the Moon Hatched, it felt more unique to me because it had a very unique take on dragons. Like some of the
Okay.
dragons, if they were like winter dragons, and so they couldn't fly into like the desert area, or the desert dragons couldn't fly or survive in like the winter zones, and then some dragons could go back and forth. But that book felt like that was a fun book to me. That was a really
Yeah.
unique storyline. The main male character, I cried. I read it on TikTok Live, and I was like sobbing my eyes out. I was like, guys, I swear I don't cry when I read, but it was so sweet. I just was like bawling. It's probably the only book, if I think about it, I will start tearing up. So like even with Fourth Wing, I don't think I shed a tear in Fourth Wing. Like I was so sad and devastated, but it didn't make me cry.
No.
But when the moon hatched, no. I will literally be just doing random stuff, think about it, and have to wipe tears away.
Is it a happy ending? Is it a standalone?
So it's not a standalone. It isn't a series.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when book 2 comes out. I don't know if she's announced it yet or not, but that's definitely a highly, like, I'm dying for book 2 because you do get left on a cliffhanger. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah, cliffhangers just take me out now, you know?
It is. I do try to avoid them unless the book's out because I'm too soft. I'm too soft for it now. I can't.
Yeah. There's so
bad.
many books to read that sometimes I find that I'm like, okay, like take Powerless, for instance. Powerless, or no, One Dark Window came out, and I knew I would love it. But I waited until the second, because it was a duology, book 2 came out, or it was coming out that week, and then I read it, because I was like, I am not going to be left on another cliffhanger. I cannot do it. I'm going to read other books until book 2 comes out, and then I'll read it.
And do you recommend that book? Because it's on my TBR, as is pretty much every other book.
One Dark Window, so unique. Yes. Did you love? So you enjoyed Fourth Wing, like with Tarn, the grumpy dragon?
Yes.
Okay, so there is like a character you could say in One Dark Window, same vibes as Tarn, kind of just like that kind of grumpy vibe. Oh, so good. I loved it.
And I loved Ten and Violet's, like their back and forth. I loved their bond.
So good.
Sounds like it'd be something I'd be
right
up my alley, actually.
Yes, I think you'd love it.
But before I let you go, I want to know what your most anticipated read of the year is.
So that has to be hard because actually Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver just came out. And I think that book was one I was like highly anticipating for this year. And then the other book that I was really looking forward to this year came out earlier as well, which was The Ever Queen, which was book 2 after The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. So both of those are already out. Thank God I didn't have to wait long this year. But I will say I'm really looking forward to Reckless, which again, thank goodness, I only have to wait like 2 more weeks for Reckless to come out. But yeah, Reckless, I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm yet to read Powerless. The amount of times I've been like, no, I'm going to start it.
I wonder if Reckless is a duology. No, there's going to be multiple books. Oh man, you might want to wait then a while longer.
Next year, like,
thinking about it. Reckless is going to leave me on another cliffhanger. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
So you enjoyed Powerless? You definitely recommend it?
Yeah, I loved Powerless. There was a lot of banter. The only thing I tell people, because it's not often I read YA, like I do enjoy YA. I have found that in the beginning of my reading journey, I only read spicy books. Like you couldn't give me more spice, you know? That's why I was going for reverse harems and, give me all the spicy scenes. But yeah, then I kind of flipped and I've been doing some YA books and thrillers and stuff like that. But with Powerless, it's hard because the banter is so good and the tension is so good. But as a spicy lover, you get no payoff with it. So it's like such a tease to have such high banter and tension with zero payoff. And you're just like, oh man, I need a spicy author to give me this with spicy scenes, please.
But I think like from what I've got from everyone, that as much as they're like, it would have been great with spice, they still get so much out of that book.
Yes, it's still so good. Like even without the spice, 10 out of 10 would recommend. But I do think for people, like I try to tell my followers, like if you love spice, this book might frustrate you a little bit because it's going to really tease you and you're going to be like, man.
Oh, I love that. And honestly, I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much.
It's been such a pleasure. I'm probably going to take this offline and pick your brain on some more recommendations because you always have. I really want to get back into my fantasy era. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And I know that, everyone adores you on BookTok and for good reason. We love it. And just thank you so much.
Thank you, V. Thank you so much for having me on. I absolutely loved it. I was so excited when you asked me to come on. I was like, me? Of course. I was like, what? So
I
thank
love
you for
that. Thank
having
you
me
so
on.
much.
It was so
Always.
nice chatting with you.
And we'll have to do it again.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
I just adore Miranda. She is just so lovely. And I would actually love to do a future episode where we deep dive into a particular book. Let me know if you would love to see something like that or what book we would do. I want to hear it. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Okay, so these are the books that you need to be aware of. So we've got Eva Winners coming out with Thorns of Desire. It's, of course, a mafia romance. That's 11th of July. I cannot wait. It's on my TBR. I am so excited. We've also got Play Along, Liz Tomforde, Is Sports Romance, Fake Dating. I love this series. I cannot wait. And then to end off, we've got The Pucking Coach's Daughter, Reverse Harem by S. Massery. Now that's out on the 23rd of July. I think this is a lot of people's most anticipated reads. And as you know, I'm not massive on Reverse Harem. I think I'm going to give this one a go. I think I'm going to do it. Let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know your thoughts. And as always, if you want to get in touch, you've got TikTok, you've got Instagram. I'm at VReads. I've got all the information below. And I can't wait to see you next week. That's the tea.